John opens with, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. The light shines in darkness, and darkness has not overcome it." The Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us, like we saw on the written in the church. Okay, so what I want to skip over to John 43. Jesus calls Philip and Nathanael. The next day, Jesus decided to leave for Galilee. Finding Philip, he said to him, "Follow me." Philip, like Andrew and Peter, was from the town of Bethsaida, which will pass on the way. Philip found Nathanael and told him, "We have found the one Moses wrote about in the law, and about whom the prophets also wrote, Jesus," and also, I'm putting the emphasis in the wrong place. "We have found the one Moses wrote about in the law, and about whom the prophets also wrote, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph." "Nazareth? Can anything good come from there?" Nathanael asked. "Come and see," said Philip. When Jesus saw Nathanael approaching him, he saw of him, "Here truly is an Israelite in whom there is no deceit." "How do you know me?" Nathanael asked. Jesus answered, "I saw you while you were still under the fig tree before Philip called you." Then Nathanael declared, "Rabbi, you are the Son of God. You are the King of Israel." Jesus said, "You believe because I told you I saw you under the fig tree. You will see greater things than that." He then added, "Very truly I tell you, you will see heaven open and the angels of God ascending and descending on the Son of Man." Okay, so Nathanael was in a place where he thought no one was able to see him, but Jesus tells him that he saw him, and he believed. But very interesting that Jesus didn't take offense to what Nathanael had said, that can anything good come from Nazareth. So as I mentioned, the residents of Judea sort of looked down at the Galileans and Nazareth. Okay, and when also this term that comes up very often, the Son of Man, when he says the Son of Man, Ben Adam. Okay, in Hebrew, Ben Adam is the Son of Man, like Adam, the son of Adam, right? So a human being is the son of Adam, literally, in Hebrew. Also in Arabic, bin Adam. Okay, so it's common in the Semitic languages. So in Hebrew, even today, this is still how we say a human being. So Jesus says that you will see the angels of heaven descending and ascending upon the human being. Is sort of the literal translation, or the son of Adam. Okay. So sort of continuing on with Mary, right? As we mentioned, that in the church, the basilica that we visited, that Mary was the focus, because Jesus hadn't even yet come into the picture. And so the personality of Mary, I'll get back to you guys in just 1 second, hang tight. Back. So a little bit about the personality of Mary and her importance in the Catholic and the Orthodox Christian faiths, and her importance in early Christianity. Okay, so I've had a number of, during my few years as a tour guide and visiting some of the churches, I've had evangelical Christians approach me. It's even happened today, and sort of are bothered with Mary, with the amount that the attention that's devoted to Mary in the Catholic and the Orthodox sides. So anyway, I don't. It's no secret. I'm Jewish, so I don't have a horse in this race either way. But with sort of the evangelical movement, which really grew out of the Protestant movement, beginning with Martin Luther. So there was much more an emphasis to let's go back to the text. Let's stick to what the Bible actually says, and place less emphasis on the traditions, the external traditions, what's called the apocrypha, the rituals of the churches, of the Church, of the Catholic Church, and sort of really focus on the text, focus on what's written in the Bible. And so when we check the number of times that Mary actually appears in the Gospels, it's negligible. In fact, I can tell you that Mary appears more times in the Quran than she appears in the New Testament. Okay, guys, I want to give you guys a chance. Me and Muhammad want to give you guys a chance to take a picture of Mount Tabor. Protestants and evangelicals have pointed to the Hermon mountain because it fits more in line with the text, with the verses. It was closer. The Hermon is a taller mountain. It was closer to where they were. But the older tradition is that the Transfiguration took place on Mount Tabor. Also, this Mount Tabor is a meeting point between 4 tribes: Menashe, Asher, Zebulun, and Issachar. Okay, that we can see on the map here. So during the biblical times, the tribes of Israel, when they would go out to battle, they would converge on Mount Tabor, and from there they would go out to battle with the Philistines or whoever it was. And also the Jewish New Month. Today, the calendar is set. Okay, the Jewish calendar is set, but during the time of the Temple period, the calendar wasn't set. The month was established based on the sighting of the new moon. So 2 witnesses who see the new moon would go to the temple, to the court, and they would testify that they saw the new moon. And then the court would establish the new month. And this is very, very significant because the festivals are celebrated based on when the month begins. For example, Passover is in the middle of the month of Nisan in the spring, and the Feast of Tabernacles, Sukkot, is in the month of Tishrei, as well as Yom Kippur and other holidays. So when the court determines that it's the new month, that will have an effect on when you celebrate the festivals, the holidays. And then the court would send out riders and messengers to announce the coming of the new moon, and they would also light fires for places that are further away from the mountaintops. And on Mount Tabor that we passed, they would also light the fires for the new month to usher in the coming of the new month. Okay, so I want to get back to Mary. Mary is mentioned very few times in the New Testament, relatively speaking, and so her importance in the Protestant and evangelical outlook became smaller. But she plays a very central role in Catholicism and Orthodox Christianity. And she was in the beginning of Christianity. In the 5th century, they had ecumenical councils, and still the Catholic Church still has ecumenical councils. Ecumenical means, anyone know what ecumenical means? Universal. Universal councils. So it used to be that the Christian world was united with 4 bishops under one. The 4 bishops made the church. The 4 bishops were the Bishop of Rome, or the Pope, the Bishop of Constantinople, which is today a city called Istanbul in Turkey, the Bishop of Antioch, and the Bishop of Jerusalem. And so in the beginning of Christianity, they had these ecumenical councils. Today it's much more fragmented than it was in the beginning. And they would determine theology. Okay? Most of these ecumenical councils in the early days of Christianity were to determine what you are supposed to believe as a Christian. What does a Christian have to believe? So one of the questions that came into being is, Jesus, is he man? Is he God? Is he part man, part God? What the nature of Jesus, for example? That was determined in Capaernaum, where they determined that Jesus has two natures. There were 4 churches at the time that didn't accept it, and that was maybe the first time that there was a disagreement, and people found themselves on the outside. The Ethiopians, the Copts, the Syriacs, and the Armenians disagreed that Jesus has 2 natures. They said he has one nature, and they're known henceforth as the monophysicists, those that believe in one nature of Jesus. Okay? There was another ecumenical council where they discussed, what is Mary? What is the role of, did Mary give birth to Jesus the man, or did she give birth to Jesus the God? Okay, and so in this council, debating on Mary, they determined that she gave birth to Jesus the God. Okay, and she was therefore declared Theodokia, the mother of God. And so her role in early Christianity really can't be overstated. She was one of the main reasons why she obtained such a high status is a story about Jesus's the first miracle he performs. Anyone remember?
Cana.
In Cana, right? That's coming up soon. We're going to stop and we're going to take pictures of the church in Cana. Let me just check. Okay, so I couldn't have planned this better, even if I planned it. So in Cana, in the wedding in Cana, Jesus performs his first miracle of turning water into wine. Okay, and I'm going to pull up the verse for you in just a moment. Because he's Adam and she's Eve. And the same way as the original sin was done with fruit, okay, usually it's portrayed as an apple, but actually it doesn't mention, we don't know what kind of fruit it was. So the rectification of the sin is done with fruit as well. So the wine that's made from grape fruit. Okay, so there, the original sin is rectified. It's seen as a part of the rectification of the original sin. And Jesus at first wouldn't have done anything. Had Mary not turned to Jesus, Jesus wouldn't have done anything to help. And so this story in particular is seen as the importance of Mary's role. Okay, so sort of in sort of the modern perception of Jesus is seen as like very gentle and very, very loving. In early Christianity, Jesus was actually perceived a lot more like the Father. Okay, as the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Okay, we're going to see the church in just a moment where this miracle is said to have taken place with the water into wine. The wedding church. So we see 2 bell towers which represent husband and wife, and behind them a big tower which represents Jesus between them. In both of the churches, the Greek Orthodox and the Catholic Church. And we can see. Okay, and so this is actually to do something had it not been for her involvement. So that's the story of Cana and the significance of Mary still in Catholicism and Orthodox Christianity and in early Christianity.
Tiberias.
Warlord Saladin defeats the first major defeat of the Crusaders is suffered there, as the Crusaders left Zipori and wanted to resupply and refill their drinking skins in the Sea of Galilee, and there Salah ad-Din's army cuts them off from both sides and wins a major battle, which event on July 4th, 1187. And this eventually will lead to the fall of Jerusalem, of Crusader Jerusalem. The Crusaders will reestablish their capital in the city of Acre, of Akko. And those that are visiting Akko, there's beautifully preserved Crusader remains under the ground. And Acre is a World Heritage Site because of two cities, one on top of the other. On top of the Ottoman Turkish city, the Ottoman Turkish city is on top, and preserved underneath it beautifully is the Crusader city of Akko. And the Crusader kingdom fell entirely in 1292. So the Crusaders conquered Jerusalem in 1099 and fall in 1292. And of course, the Sea of Galilee is a very important place to Christians, a place where Jesus recruits his disciples, the place where he walks on water. Also, Peter walks on water after him on the Sea of Galilee. entering the valley, the rift valley, where the two plates meet each other, and the tectonic activity, okay, created valleys all throughout the Sea of Galilee, and these valleys are very, very fertile. Okay, the historian Josephus Flavius, who lived during the time of the Great Revolt and wrote several historical masterpieces 2,000 years ago, writes about the Sea of Galilee, okay, and the valleys around the Sea of Galilee, that here enemies become friends, okay, and he's not talking about people, he's talking about plants, crops. He says crops that never grow side by side anywhere else grow side by side here in this area, okay. So, and like I said, avocados and mangoes and even pineapples and olives and you name it, okay, almost, and it can grow here, okay, and it grows very, very, very well, and the fruit here is very delicious. Okay, the Sea of Galilee is, aside from its religious significance, is sort of a national obsession here in Israel. How much every winter, how much the Sea of Galilee rise, right? Whether we've had a good rain year or not. Okay, here in Israel, we are very much dependent on rain. Okay, it has to rain, and if it doesn't rain, then it means we don't have water. Okay, that's become less true in recent years because of all of the investment that was made into water desalinization. So taking the salt water of the Mediterranean or the Red Sea and converting it to drinking water. Okay, so this has been one of the big saviors of Israel. Okay, because with the climate warming and with less and less rain, we've had very, very tough winters when it comes to rain, and it looks like, hopefully not, God forbid, but we might have another one. We had a very promising start to the rainy season, and so far, okay, nothing. This is not the weather that we should be having in the middle of November. Okay, so the 5 water desalinization plants have been very important. In the early days of the State of Israel, the Sea of Galilee was the main source of drinking water in Israel. So they built what's called the National Water Carrier in 1964 to carry water from the Sea of Galilee, to transport water to Israeli communities elsewhere in the country. Okay, we're taking less and less water away from nature, okay, and making our own with desalinization. But desalinization isn't the fix-all solution. There's problems with desalinization. For one, there's a lot of salt that's left as a byproduct, and you can't just throw it somewhere away because it causes ecological damage. So there has to be a way of dealing with the salt. Secondly, once you desalinate the water, you also take away good minerals from it as well, like magnesium. Magnesium is very, very vital to human health and human heart function. And it's even been noted that in places that rely more heavily on desalinated water, there's more people who are taken to the hospital with irregular heartbeats because of one reason being the absence of magnesium. Okay, we're also passing Magdala. Magdala is the hometown of Mary Magdalene. Okay, Mary Magdalene was also a follower of Jesus, and also the first one who finds his empty grave, finds his empty tomb on Sunday. Okay, and if we're going to talk about sticking to the scripture, aside from popular opinion or belief, it doesn't mention anywhere in the Gospels that she was a woman of ill repute. Okay, so even though in the Catholic church. That's the story behind her, that she repented and followed Jesus. It doesn't say that anywhere in the Gospels. Israel started its road as a country, as a socialist country. In fact, the United States was actually concerned at the beginning that Israel could become a Soviet satellite, even. So there were concerns in the State Department of even recognizing the State of Israel. One of the reasons being is the fear that Israel would go with the Soviet Union. But completely the opposite happened. Israel was aligned with the West, and the Arab states were aligned with the Soviet Union. But nonetheless, Israel got its start as a socialist country, and one of the institutions of Israel were the kibbutz. It was the kibbutzim, the kibbutzes, which were like agricultural socialist communities, and even many of the heroes of the early state of Israel were born on kibbutzes, like Moshe Dayan, Yigal Allon, Ariel Sharon. Okay guys, we're getting off the bus. This time it's